very important that we maintain that Atlantic relationship.
Welcome to Lisbon. It's a true honor to be here and to meet with you. To meet with you at a serious time, and a serious time demands serious words, not slogans or early optimism.
This is Lisbon, where the Lisbon Conference 2026 has gathered world leaders, former and current prime ministers and presidents around one table. They are here to take on big questions: how transatlantic relations will evolve, what Europe's political and defense role should be, how global geopolitics and conflict like in Ukraine and Middle East shape our future, and the impact of AI new technologies. It's a unique movement where thought pioneers and policymakers meet to shape Asia's agenda for a turbulent world. The conference opened with a clear message: Europe must find unity and direction in a time of deep global uncertainty. Portuguese President António José Seguro set the tone, warning that rising geopolitical and economic pressure demand a collective response. Multilateral cooperation, he stressed, is now essential in an increasingly fragile world. Portuguese's role as a bridge between continents was also highlighted, reflecting its growing strategic importance. There was a strong emphasis on protecting democratic values and maintaining institutional stability. The message was clear: only coordinated European action can ensure resilience and long-term security. And it set the stage for a wider debate on how Europe should navigate a rapidly changing global landscape.
Senhoras e meus senhores, Camões, celebramos há dias, escreveu: mudam-se os tempos, mudam-se as vontades. A mudança permanente não é uma...
Whom we celebrated a few days ago, wrote, time change and will change with them. Constant change is not a novelty of a century, it is the human condition. What distinguishes generations is not that they lived through certain or uncertain times. All have lived with uncertainty. What generations them is how they responded to uncertainty. The generation that built the post-war order had no certainties. It had ruins, 50 million dead, and a devastated continent. And often those ruins, it built 70 years of peace, the greatest peace project in modern history. Not because it had guarantees, but because it had courage. That is the response our time demands of us: transition to rupture. In the structures of power, rupture has already begun, and not by our choice, but in what truly matters. The world we choose to build often this rupture. The choice remains entirely in our hands. And it is good that it be made quickly, because as we are warned, tomorrow is not far away.
Inteiramente nas nossas mãos. E é bom que seja feita depressa, porque, como nos avisam, o amanhã não é hoje demais. Muito obrigado.
Former European prime ministers and senior policymakers warned that the current global situation presents serious challenges for Europe. They stated the need for stronger preparation in the face of security risk, technological competition, and demographic change. Speakers highlighted the importance of strong defense systems, strategic independence, and political unity. They also underlined the value of maintaining strong international alliances. Above all, they called for faster and more coordinated decision-making in an increasingly uncertain world.
We're facing quite a big challenge, quite a big crisis, which we can call defense crisis or security crisis. On one side, we have the Russian aggression against Ukraine, and all the predictions that Russia can try to test Article 5 against the EU and NATO member states. From the other side, we have United States with a very clear policy agenda, so-called NATO 3.0, that they need to diminish their presence on the European continent. They are asking us to take primary responsibility on European defense on our shoulders. For us, really, it would be very important to find the ways how to become much stronger, becoming more united. I would not be afraid to become more united in order to become stronger. Memorandum of understanding between American administration and Pentagon means really a strategic defeat to the US. This is my feeling. We, my dear Commissioner, we must to reflect quickly, fast about this situation, because it will be as well extremely important for us.
Europe must have military force. One sentence. Very simple, but very topical and very clear. We should follow this direction. We should encourage our leaders to get together. 62% of Europeans say in these days that defense and security matters. Why our leaders are not more courageous, especially in our family? May I say, EPP family, center-right family. We need to undertake actions. The world is changing, and the change is very, very fast. Without reforms, when it changes in politics, we will suffer. Let's help our leaders.
What is the structure of the European Union going to be looking at the years ahead? There's an assumption it stays as it is, but is it? Is it going to, as it expands potentially further, will the relationships change, will how it operates change? I think that's one of the questions that needs thought. And actually we need to ask what comes next in the United States. And I would just make this historical point, if you like, that we talk about the United States sort of withdrawing, being more isolationist, but that isn't something new, actually. If you think about the Second World War, Winston Churchill had to work really hard in the early years to get support from the United States, and they came fully in when they themselves had been attacked at Pearl Harbor. So we have this sort of vision that the United States has always been there and come alongside us. But actually sometimes it's taken quite a lot of hard work by Europe to bring them alongside us in that. I think it's very important that we maintain that Atlantic relationship. Certainly from the UK's point of view, I think it's very important. To be fair, we talk about the special relationship rather more than the Americans have talked about the special relationship. But it has been built on years of our military, security, defence working very closely together. That's in particular. It's not about relationships between prime ministers and presidents. It's actually about core relationships throughout the two systems of the two countries.
NATO is much stronger, closer to Russia than it was before, at least from an operational point of view. But at the end of the day, as you remind us, José María, it's very important the political will and the commitment. And that goes beyond the treaties, goes beyond the norms, it's about political leadership as well.
A Nobel Peace Prize laureate said that global transformation can only be meaningful if it ensures justice for all. He drew attention to child rights, inequality, and human dignity. According to him, sustainable development and lasting peace are deeply connected.
10,000 children every day are entering into child labor workforce in Africa, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. And the world has gone almost 18 to 20 trillion dollars richer since then. So this is the background. We cannot ignore it when we talk of development, when we talk of politics. In this situation, I will talk later, but I can just say that 2 years ago when I launched, together with number of peace laureates, together with number of world leaders, including former and present global leaders, presidents and so on. So that was the movement for global compassion. Compassion, I underline here, is not kindness. It's not empathy, it is not mercy, it is not pity, it is not benevolence, it is not at all empathy.
Economists at the conference said Europe must strengthen its economic strategy in response to global change. They emphasized innovation, fiscal discipline, and modern trade policies. They also noted that economic systems must become more adaptable to survive in a rapidly changing world.
The opportunities and positives competitively for the implementation of new technologies of the world. I don't think it's fair to say that we're going to be able to catch up on our competitors around the world at this stage. So let's adjust to the reality and use the technology to the best advantage for our workers, for our companies, and to create the jobs that we need in Europe.
By and large, far less advanced than all of us and our economies here in the room. They're also far less mature in terms of their ages and civilizational pedigrees, their independence from colonial rule. And yet these countries are united by one definitive agenda, and that is, no matter how close they might be in some respects to China or the US, they do not want to take sides between Beijing and Washington. And thus far, Indonesia has managed to do the following. Whilst Prabowo was visiting Russia, visiting Putin in Moscow, the invader of Ukraine, he also deepened military partnerships with the US and announced a comprehensive upgrading of the partnership with Washington. On the other hand, you've also got Malaysia, which of course has long-standing issues with Israel, and despite that welcomes American investments in terms of fab manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing in Penang and also data centers in Johor, whilst bringing in Chinese companies like Alibaba and Tencent, requiring them that they leave the talent and knowledge there, as opposed to doing what the Chinese have always done best, which is go in, build factories and not share knowledge.
At the close of the conference, speakers once again stressed that dialogue, reform, and cooperation are key to facing uncertainty. As the world stands at the turning point, today's decisions will shape the future. The Lisbon Conference highlighted both the challenges and the realities of a rapidly changing global order. Kabir, today's World News 24, Lisbon, Portugal.